Hello and welcome to Language Lessons with Mistress Wendy Bowe, where we will be leveling up our language skills.
Explaining figurative expressions is our topic for today. By the end of this session, you will be able to explain figurative expressions in context and use 3 or 4 steps to explain figurative language. Can you explain the following expression before we begin? Your mom is as ageless as the sun even after 20 years. What does this expression mean? Can you say?
How would you go about explaining that or any other kind of figurative expression? Remember, a figurative expression does not mean exactly what it says, so you must look for the literal characteristics or qualities that object, thing, or person has. Sort of like research its origins and state what you know about the thing being compared. Here are 3 simple steps to help you explain a figurative expression. Step 1. Determine the kind of figurative device or technique that is being used. It could be a simile, metaphor, personification, irony, proverb, or any of the figurative devices that you have been studying. You want to be able to name the figurative expressions correctly, so learn them all. In this way, you will be able to identify them in writing and in speech. Step 2. Tell what 2 things are being compared. This is necessary for you to make the correct explanations. Remember that figurative expressions make comparisons. And in order to make a comparison, you need 2 things, 2 people, 2 items, 2 objects. Step 3. Identify and discuss the shared characteristic. In other words, explain how the 2 things being compared are similar. What is the one thing that the 2 things have in common? Now that you have the 3 steps, name the figurative device, 2, say what 2 things are being compared, and 3, explain the shared characteristic, you can explain any figurative expression. Let's look at an example of a figurative expression. After not exercising for weeks, the walk to the corner store was like a marathon. Now let's analyze the expression by putting all of the steps together. What is the figurative device that is used here? Yes, the writer uses a simile. We see the use of the word like, which indicates that the writer is saying that one thing is like another. This tells us that a simile is used. So what are the 2 things being compared? If you said that the short walk is being compared to a marathon, then you're absolutely correct. It's just that easy. And finally, how are the 2 things alike? What is the one thing that the 2 things have in common? In order for you to figure this out, you must think about what you know is the literal meaning of one of the points of comparison. In this example, a walk is being compared to a marathon. What do you know about a marathon? Yes, it is an extremely long, exhausting, and difficult event, even for a trained athlete. The writer uses the word marathon to help us see that as short as the walk was, and as seemingly easy as it appeared, it was quite a difficult task. The common characteristic then is that both the short walk and the marathon are difficult. The writer compares the short walk to a marathon to show how difficult that task was. Now let's put it all together in a few sentences. Remember to include ideas from each of the 3 steps. The writer uses a simile as he compares a short walk to a marathon. Running a marathon is an extremely challenging thing, even for a trained athlete. By comparing the short walk to a marathon, the writer wants us to note that the walk was very difficult. And just like that, you have an explanation of a figurative expression. Now you try. Explain the figurative expression that is in bold. Remember to name the device, state the 2 things being compared, and explain how they are similar. A richly cultured man, my grandfather migrated from England to America as the disinherited black sheep in a wealthy family, married an illiterate woman, worked as a cigar maker, hand wrapping cigars, and lived on the edge of poverty. Okay, so we're explaining the figurative expression black sheep. Before you begin, think about what you already know about the term black sheep, and also pay attention to the context in which it is being used. This will help you with explaining the expression. All right, let us discuss your analysis. First, the writer uses a metaphor. He says that grandfather is a black sheep. Grandfather is being compared to a black sheep. So those are the two things that are being compared, grandfather and black sheep. In order to recognize the common characteristics, we need to figure out what we know about a black sheep. Well, first, historically, black sheep or black wool was undesirable. Black sheep also stand out because most sheep are white. So, we can conclude that a black sheep is considered the worst member of a group, or is the one that is most different from others, or does not follow the same way of the group. They are often an outcast. And in this instance, grandfather appears to be one who is not following the way of the group. Having considered all of those ideas, we can see the similarity between grandfather and the black sheep. Grandfather, like the black sheep, is an outcast. He is undesirable. And if we look more closely at the context, we can see why. He moved to the Americas, and in addition, he did not live a life of wealth. He lived in poverty. Now let's put all of those ideas together in a few sentences. Remember to include ideas from the 3 steps that we have discussed. Here is the explanation. A metaphor is used. Grandfather is being compared to a black sheep. A black sheep is often ostracized or disowned. They are disliked by the group because they do not follow the group. In a similar way, grandfather is an outcast. He is disinherited by his family because he does not conform to their ways. Now try some on your own. Share your answers with your teacher. I'm sure that you did an excellent job. Hip, hip, hooray! As you explain figurative expressions, remember to name the device, state the 2 things compared, and explain how they are similar. Once you follow these 3 steps, you are well on your way to mastering explaining figurative expressions.
And just like that, we've come to the end of our lesson. Go and practice.